probably the more important part of it, right? The more interesting part. So we are going to open up our AutoCAD books to page 1035, page 1035. And I'm going to go underneath here. We're actually, the tutorials that they have aren't exactly what I wanted to use. So I'm deviating a little bit from what the chapter has. So we're going to be looking at page 1035, and we have the angle base here. Okay, we have the angle base. This is going to be the tutorial, if you would, or the example that we're going to be going over. This is also the first of your homework problems that I have you guys handing in as well. Now, additionally, if we go over to Canvas and we look at our drawing assignment for chapter 10, we do have a drawing guide for this. Okay, so I'm going to kind of zoom out here. So here is the drawing guide that we're going to have, for this assignment. Okay, so so this will be like what we're aspiring to, and the auxiliary view that we're going to be creating is going to be this one, with the focus really on the actual hole here, because that's the feature that we want to be able to get to its true size. So let's go underneath here. So here is our block. So we've got to kind of plan this out. We got to kind of plan this out. We have to figure out what's going to be our front, our top, and our right side view. And I know I kind of already did my drawing guide, but we want to kind of, use those same rules that we have before, and then ultimately decide where our auxiliary view is going to be coming from. So in the case that I used, I felt like this profile here gave me the main shape of the part. Okay. And it also, now this is a 3x3 part, so it doesn't necessarily give me the longest dimension, but it's one of the longest, right? Because it's in both directions, is 3 and 3. So I'm going to use this as my front view. Okay. Then in accordance, I'm going to go on the right side here. I'm going to do a right side view because I'm going to have fewer hidden lines. And again, I can kind of see, even though it won't be the true size of that circle, I will see an ellipse, right? And then I'm going to do a top view. So I always like to do my 3 primary views first. So that's what we're going to work on here at the beginning. And then we'll add our auxiliary view. Okay. So I'm going to go over to AutoCAD, and I'm going to use my bottom left-hand corner as my 0, 0. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my object line layer. I'm going to start a line. Now, again, you may be constructing a little bit differently. That's okay. You don't have to follow exactly the way I did it. We know that there's multiple ways of getting the same job done. So use the format at this point that you're comfortable with. So I'm going to do 3 inches. I'm going to go up if I can. Let me see. I'm going to go up 1 inch. All right. And then you'll notice that I went up a full inch because this is going to be that edge going all the way up. And I have this line at an angle. Okay. I don't know really how long that's going to be. So I'm going to go back over here. And I am going to rotate a straight line. So I'm going to grab my orthographic projection, or my ortho line. I'm going to make sure that I'm horizontal or vertical. It's totally up to you which way you want to go. And I know it's a 45-degree angle. So I'm just going to make it a random length, because I'm going to anticipate that I'm either going to extend or trim this off. So I'm going to make it a random length, and I'm just going to hit escape. Now, if you want to do it a different way, you certainly can. I'm just showing you how I'm going to approach it. So now I'm going to go to my rotate command. I'm going to select that line, going to hit enter, and my base position is going to be down at the endpoint of that line that I just created. So there's an endpoint in there because I stopped it at 1 inch and then I continued on. So this is my endpoint. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to turn the ortho off for a second, because now what I want to do is I want to rotate that to that 45-degree angle. Okay. So since this was, if you would, my 0 degrees, I want to go in a counterclockwise direction, so a positive direction. And I'm just going to specify my rotation angle now as 45, right? 45. And it goes in the direction. Now, if you would put a negative in front of there, it would go in the opposite direction, right? Okay, so counterclockwise is always going to be our positive direction. Great. All right, so looking at the illustration here, I'm going to go to the top, I'm going to offset. I'm actually going to turn my line widths on so we can see them. They're nice and bright. I'm going to do an offset from the bottom up. And that overall height is 2 plus 1/2, so 2.5. And I'm going to offset my bottom line up. Okay, the bottom line up. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, it's kind of a construction here. So I'm going to do a straight line going straight up, vertical. I'm just going to kind of extend it over. And if we look back, I'm going to take that vertical line that I just created. I really don't know where this point is yet. I have to construct that in there. I'm going to have to trim it away, but I just created a vertical line up here so I can offset in so I can get that point. Okay, I want to start from there. So I'm going to go back to my AutoCAD and I'm going to do another offset. And this time it's going to be 1 inch and I'm going to go 1 inch in. There we go. And now this is the length of that top little portion. So I can use my trim command to trim this back, and trim this back. And that's kind of the start of what I have, right? Now I've got this vertical line at the end point here. And if I compare it to the drawing, I'm right here. I've got a vertical line right here. I'm going to rotate that vertical line so it goes 45 degrees. Okay. So back to AutoCAD. I'm going to turn, I got my ortho is off. I'm going to do that rotate command again, which is just to the left of my trim extend. I'm going to select that vertical line, hit enter. And now I got to specify my base point. I got to specify the base point right here, not at the end point of either one of those. This is my base point right here. I want to rotate about that point. I'm going to click it. All right. And now I've got it. Okay. Now I've got it. And I've got to figure out which way I rotate it. So right now it's vertical. And if you notice, I'm rotating it manually. I haven't clicked anything yet in a clockwise direction. So this time my angle is going to be -45. So -45 is my angle. And now it's in position. And now I can trim away those portions, right? Trim, 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 trim. All right. So that's the perimeter of the angle base. Corinne, I know you just came in. We are on page 1035 in our AutoCAD book, okay? And we're looking at the angle base. And we just got started. So we just created the perimeter. So now we are going to go back and compare, okay? And we got to do like the inside. So we've got the perimeter all figured out. And now I want to do the inside. So I'm going to add this little shelf right here, which is a 1/2 inch. That's just going to be a simple offset. So I'm going to grab that offset command, 0.5, grab it and go up. There we go. Okay. And that's about all I can do on the front view right now, right? That's about all I can do on the front view right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, you can pick. It could be the top view. It could be the right side view, whatever. I'm going to look at the top view. So I'm going to go up. And I'm gonna make everything in line. So make sure that your showing snap references is on. Okay. So when I hover over the top of this extension, I get these like green lines, because that way I can follow those up and I know that I'm in line with the feature that I just referenced. Okay. So I'm going to go on this left-hand side. I'm going to reference this. Now we know some of these dimensions, right? I'm going to put my ortho back on. We know when it's some of these dimensions. So I know this is 3 wide, or I can always like sneak down here, kind of find that reference, and it'll snap to that endpoint as well. Okay. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go straight up. I know this one is 3 inches. So I'm going to zoom back out. Okay. Then I'm going to go over. I know this is going to be in line. And then I'm going to hit C for close. So this is just the outside perimeter. Okay. All right. Then we look back at our part. And as I look straight down on this, I'm going to see this little shelf, right? So this is going to be offset in, offset in. This is 2 inches wide here. Doesn't tell us, but because this is a 3 inch dimension, we're going to assume that it's even on both sides. So a 1/2 inch in, 1/2 inch in. Okay. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do that offset again. And this time it's going to be 0.5, which I guess was the same as the last one. And then I'm going to pick those outsides, go in to, and then hit the left key and enter. Okay. So I'll give you a chance to kind of catch up with me here, if you need to. Just wanted to verify I was recording. All right, now let's put the little, the little lines in right here that are going to go straight up. As we're looking in this top view, we're going to see these two edges as well. So I'm going to take my line command. I'm going to hover over, not click, hover over that endpoint, go straight up. And when it gets to the second line here, that's going to be where it crosses over and perpendicular, not the whole width, just that inside portion. So we're going to do that same thing, line, hover over, kind of grab it so it recognizes it, and then we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so perimeter wise, we've got the top view, the front. We might as well add the right side view at this point, right? We'll add the hole. We know that the hole is coming. That's really going to be our focus of our auxiliary view. So now let's add our right side view here. Okay, so I'm going to add a line. I'm going to start with the bottom here, kind of a little bit of distance in between. Does not have to be exactly the same unless you wanted to use the miter line method, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to go over here. My width is going to be 3 inches. My height, we know what that height is. I think it's 2 plus a half. We could key in 2.5, or you can activate the line over here, and then it's going to snap to that height and ensure that you're in orthographic projection. And I'm going to go over here and over here. I know I'm going to be, trimming some of this off. Then I'm going to go in a 1/2 inch on either side. I don't claim to be the most efficient process. It doesn't have to be. I probably could have gone, around the outside, but I'm just going to do my offsets, 1/2 inch in and in, and from the bottom up. And now I'm going to trim away the portions I don't need. So I'm going to hit my scissors. I'm going to get rid of this, and that, right? This, and that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in this ridge over here. Okay. So I'm going to do line, and I'm going to start here and there. And then as we look back at our drawing, you'll notice that this face, there is no edge in between here, right? So I actually want to remove that lower line, and then it's going to go up to there. So we'll go back. We're going to trim away this part. Okay. And we're good. We've got that. And I think, as far as the perimeter, the only other line that I need is this one in the background, right? So I need to change to my hidden line. I've got this edge back here, so I'm going to go in projection with it. Then I'm going to click and click. There we go. Whoops, I don't think that did it. Hold on. I got to go back. I think it grabbed the midpoint. Let me go closer. So line. Maybe it is the midpoint. Oh, it must be. Looks like it is. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, it's the midpoint of this top one. That's why. I was gonna it's not halfway. All right. Quick save, right? File, save as. And I have a place that I've been saving. You can navigate to where you're gonna go. Tech drafting. Module assignments. Module 4, and we'll call this save. Okay. Oops, I actually have to name it. File, save as. This is the angle base, right? Angle base. There we go. Save. Okay. So now we are at a point where we're ready to add our circle, right? Right. And we're gonna look at our drawing here. And we know that if we look at the right side view or the top view or the front view, none of those are going to give us the true size circle view of that feature. Okay. So let's peek back at our assignment, that drawing guide. We're going to create this right here, okay? Which means that we need to look straight down, if you would, that center line, so that we can see that circle as a circle. And then additionally, we get the benefit of seeing this surface so that we see it also as what we're going to call its true size and shape, okay? So this is going to be the orientation that we're going to look down. So let's see how we create that, because it's not one of our principal views. Okay, any ideas? Any ideas? Yeah. You could create it a 45-degree angle and use the construction lines to kind of go into it. Absolutely. Others, are there any other ways that we could do it? Yep. We could project off of the midline. And the important thing here is this surface right here, we need to be perpendicular to it, right? We need to look perpendicular to it. So, so first things first, I like the construction line idea. Let's switch to construction lines. We're going to go to our X line here. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to create a line that is going to be perpendicular to this. Now I want to take my orthographic projection off, because otherwise it's going to only go vertical and horizontal. And I am going to, I created a little bit different. I'm gonna just start out here with my first line. And all I'm going to do is, I don't want to go to the midpoint, too close to the midpoint. I'm going to shift. I just want to be perpendicular to this. Okay. I just want to be perpendicular to it. And I'm going to set up that one line. And now I'm going to move this line to my edges. Okay. So I'm going to do the move command, and I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to move this construction line, enter, from the intersection that it creates here to the endpoint. That's it. Okay. So I created it to be perpendicular to that surface, and then I moved it to an edge, because the edge is more important to me than just a random place along that. But the random place got me my orientation of my line. Now, yes, it's a 45-degree angle. Couldn't I just create it at 45? Yes. But I also want to show you sometimes it's not. That these are ways that you can construct this and get your line of sight perpendicular using the feature. Okay. All right, then what I want to do is I'm going to copy this same line from here, okay, just that one, and I'm going to go from this intersection to this intersection, okay? Because the first part of this auxiliary view that I'm going to draw is just that surface with its hole. That's it. And then I'm going to add the other stuff in the background, okay? But I'm going to focus on that hole first. So I am going to also, you'll notice that as I add a little bit to either side, this top view is going to get in the way. So the beauty of CAD is I can simply move that. Now, I do want to put my ortho back on because I want to keep it in orthographic projection. So I am going to grab the move command. I am going to window around. Don't drag, click, click for upper left, lower right. I'm going to enter, and then I'm simply randomly out here. Try not to go close to other things, because then it's going to want to snap, you know, to different things. I go randomly out here, and now I can just simply move it, and it's kind of like out of my way. If I need to move it again, I will. Okay. See, there's a chat message. Polar tracking. You could use polar tracking, Emily. That's a great one. Polar tracking. If you're not sure what polar tracking is, let's take a peek at that one. Good job. So Emily's idea is if I do a construction line and I just go on this surface, for instance, I just grabbed the midpoint because it was, I'm going to turn my ortho off. There is the polar tracking that's here. Now, polar tracking, we can set it up if we arrow down here so that it's going to be at some even increments for us, and adding in, you know, checking the 45 is good too. So now when I get to, now why isn't it doing it? Oh, I did. Thank you. I was going to say, what the heck? So when I get close to that, in this case, 45-degree angles, notice that it grabbed in there and it snapped to it. Or if I get close to a 90-degree angle, it's snapping in there. Okay. So yes, polar tracking. Thank you, Emily. Great idea. Yeah, I didn't think of that one. There's probably 4 more that we could do as well. So all, you know, these are tools that are at your disposal. Okay, so we have this in place. So the next thing that we want to do, I'm going to go back to my object line, and I'm going to draw my lines. So I'm going to grab on. Now, it's going to want to go to whatever snaps that you have set up, okay? But to actually grab anywhere along that line, we are going to need to go, for instance, nearest. And nearest is going to be, I'm trying to think which one it is. That's tangent. That's perpendicular. I don't know where nearest is on here. Is it near the bottom? Is it? Oh, here it is. This it's almost this, the third one from the bottom down here. So it's snap to nearest is down here. Or my go-to is always shift right mouse button, and nearest is right down here. Okay, right down there. So now as you go along that line, notice that it's tracking along it. So wherever I click, then nearest is going to be the value. Then I want it to be perpendicular to that construction line. So I'm going to leave perpendicular in there. Okay. And now this one, since I've got my polar tracking on, it's going to stay along that, that 45-degree angle and on my construction line. And this distance, I do know from my drawing, it's a value of 2, right? 2 inches. Then I'm going to go back this way. It's going to be perpendicular. And then because it's a continuous line, I can do C for close. Okay. So now I am looking straight down. So if I would dimension this, so this is an aligned dimension. If I dimension from here to here, oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We don't have an exact dimension there. I was like, wait a second. The 2-inch dimension is going to be along here. This is going to be whatever this distance is based on that 45-degree angle, right? So it's okay that that one is off. Kind of freaked myself out for a second. But this one I drew at 2 inches, which is this distance right here. Okay. You don't have to add these dimensions. I'm just doing it to kind of verify. And the 2.12 blah, blah, blah is totally fine because it's this length right here. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to put my circle in here as a true size circle. Let's look back at our drawing. And we're given those dimensions. It looks like 1 inch up from the bottom, that corner right there, and 1 inch over from that back side. Okay. So, and then we're going to have the center of our 1.5 inch diameter hole. So we are going to go back to AutoCAD and we're going to offset for this. We're going to offset. We can't do a snap from because snap from coordinates are going to be in the X and the Y direction. Okay. Unless we figure out the trig, we don't have it. So we're going to offset from the back side 1 inch and offset from that bottom edge up. And then we're going to find that intersection that way. So offset, it's going to be 1 inch from the bottom and 1 inch from this back edge. Make sure you go from the bottom, not from the top, because we know that that dimension, that height dimension is not 2 inches. Okay. And now at the intersection here, I'm going to create my circle center diameter. Go to that intersection. Make sure you're at the intersection. Okay. And then it's going to be 1.5. There we go. Now, as long as we're here, we might as well use those crosshairs if you would. We cannot use the center point crosshairs here because it would put it vertical and horizontal, and this whole view is shifted, right? So it would look kind of weird. So we do have to manually create these. So how we're going to do that is knowing that when we create our center lines, we can't stop them at the edges of our circle. We're going to add in, get to the inside here, come on. Shift center if it's trying to grab other stuff. There we go. There's my center line. And I just want to create this circle that's going to be just beyond, okay? Because that's going to be the end point of my center lines. So now I'm going to grab these 2 lines right here, okay? And I'm going to change them. So I have them selected. I just grab them with grips, if you would. And I'm going to go up to my layers and I'm going to just put them on the center layer. That's it. So that's why it's so easy. Even if you start drawing something, you're like, oh crap, I have the wrong layer. You don't have to start over. Just finish up that feature and then select it, go back, and then put it on your layer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to trim back to that circle on the outside here. We do not want to go to the edges like you have for the for that rectangle that we created. It's just not the right convention. You want to keep it on the circle. And then we're going to get rid of, we're going to erase that outside circle because that's only for construction. And now we have that in the right place. Questions so far? All right. Isn't this fun? Let's do a quick save. We don't want to redraw any of that. Okay, let's do a quick save. Now, what do we want to do next? Suggestions. It's a democracy. There's a lot of things we could do, but what we'll do is we'll continue focusing on the circle, and we're going to project our lines, which are now this quadrant and this quadrant in this orientation. We're going to put those straight down into our part. It's going to go all the way through. Okay. So we're going to change to the hidden line type. Okay. Now, in this case, because our snapping lines always want to be in the orientation now, and I know this is 45 degrees, so actually the polar snapping could work really well for us. We'll do that because we're at a 45-degree angle. But if we're not at a 45-degree angle and we don't activate polar snapping, then we would have to first, I'll show you what I would normally do, but I like the polar snapping idea. We're going to go to that intersection there. We're going to go down, 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 and make sure that we're perpendicular to this surface. But we happen to be at 45 degrees, so our polar tracking works for us too. So, so then I would go here first and then continue on and extend it out, okay? So I would go to that surface, and then I would do an extend, and I would go all the way to, you know, through the surfaces, okay? But with the polar tracking, Emily's idea or suggestion is, I'm going to do my line and I'm going to grab that intersection. Now, because it's at a 45-degree angle and I've got polar tracking on polar tracking, you better work for me this time. How come you worked before? Polar tracking. It doesn't want to do it now. That's okay. Yeah. So I'm going to have to grab that corner. I thought it would work because we had polar tracking on it because it's doing it now. So I'm gonna stop it there because then that's where my line is going to start. But then I'm going to go all the way through, and make sure that you get all the way to where it actually intersects that back surface because it's going all the way through the part. And then we're going to do the very same thing on the other side. So we're going to go line, grab that intersection, and start your line here, and then go all the way through to the back side. Now, the reason I stopped at both parts is this is now two separate lines. So I can simply go back up to my delete key, get rid of that one, get rid of that one, and I'm left with the portion that's there. If you go all the way through, all the way through, then you just got to trim. Okay. So either way. Questions so far? Does that make sense? All right. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our center line going all the way down. Okay. Kind of that same process. I'm going to switch back to my center line. We're going to go line command. We're going to grab, not the midpoint. I want to grab the center. Shift center. Activate it on the outside. There it is. Okay. So we're going to go along. Now, I am going to go to that. Actually, is it going to let me go? Yep. I'm going to start here. So you'll notice my polar is activated now because I have my feature in place. I'm going to remember that center lines have to start on the outside of the feature. So I'm going to actually, along this little line here, the snap line, I'm going to click here before I get to the actual surface. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to zoom back in down here, and I'm going to go beyond a little bit. Okay. And then that way I have that separate line again. I can grab this one and I can simply delete it. We don't want to connect between views center lines. It's illegal. Okay. Quick save. We are looking good now, don't you think? Right. Now what do we want to do? let's go back and look at our view here. What do you want to work on next? Do you want to put the ellipses in place? Sure, right? We'll put them in the front and the right side and the front views. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. So, so we are going to project over these two lines. So we're going to use our construction layer. We're going to work on the right side first. So I'm going to go draw X line. And I'm going to put my orthographic projection back on, not the polar. Well, the polar would work because we have it at the 90, either one actually, because it just adds in the 45. But I'm going to do this. There's my first one for the top edge. And then I'm going to grab another one for the center. Make sure you grab the intersection, not the midpoint. Okay. And then the last one is going to be the edge down here. Okay. All right. So now we're going to, as we look to the right-hand side here, we are going to see this ellipse both places. So the entire ellipse is going to be a visible line. So we're going to go back on the object line layer. We're going to go to ellipse, which is right over here on the draw menu, second one down all the way on the right. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our center. Okay, we have to find our center. And right now, you'll notice that this has a midpoint, or this has a midpoint, or this has a midpoint. You just want to activate that midpoint because that's the center. And we are just going to go down, down, down until it grabs to the intersection of our construction line and the snap line that we have. Do you guys see that? Okay. There's my center. Okay. I'm going to turn my ortho off because it's just activated. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight up, perpendicular. So you want to go straight up. You could use ortho for this if you want. Straight up. And that is going to be one of the axes of my ellipse. The last one that I'm going to be putting in is going to be an input. The width is going to be to 1.5. Ooh, what did I do wrong? Right. I was on the center. Yep. This happens sometimes. I know the software really well, and I still do this sometimes. Let's do it again. It's always faster the second time. Midpoint, come straight down, click, go perpendicular to one of the construction lines or the other. And this time, yes, half of 1.5. So 0.75. There we go. There's my ellipse for that one. So good. What do you think? Why does it come? I don't know. That's why I did section views first. I think section views are a little easier, if you would. Go ahead. I can. We get to do it a lot more yet, so don't worry. Yeah, we're gonna do it again. So let's undo it. Let's do it again. So because I have my construction lines across here, right? And I have my my show snap references. So do you have this in place already, Jake? Okay. We're going to go up to, and we're going to be on our object line layer because it's a visible line. We're going to go to ellipse. We're going to find the midpoint of this rectangle here, and we're just going to track it down to that second one. That's going to be the center of our ellipse. This is going to be my center. I'm going to go straight up, perpendicular or ortho, or down. You can go either direction. This is just setting the other axis. And then now I've got my next dimension or my last dimension to put in, and it's going to be half of 1.5 or 0.75. Okay, did you get it? It won't let you do it to the construction line. Then the other option is offset your line to halfway in to 1 inch, and then bring a line across. Yeah. To find that center. So now that we have this one in, we want to then, let's look, we want to add this ellipse down here, okay? And that ellipse is going to be, the center is going to be at the bottom here at the midpoint, okay? And then its height is going to be set by, I'm going to add a construction line going straight across. Its height is going to be set by this intersection right here, where this line crosses. Do you see that? Where I'm activating it right there? And then we're just gonna go horizontal line. There we go, and then escape. So now, go back out and over. This is gonna be where that top part of that ellipse goes. So now this one is gonna be a hidden ellipse because we're looking through material and it's gonna be kind of a leftover at the end. So now we're gonna go to hidden, go back to ellipse. We're gonna find the midpoint down here because this is where the center is. This is where that center crosses. Midpoint, go straight up. And then now our radius is gonna be 0.75. And that one's down there, okay? So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect these two. So we're gonna grab a line. I'm already hidden. I'm gonna go from that quadrant to that quadrant. Line, quadrant to quadrant. There we go. And then we're just gonna trim away this part that is hanging out of the bottom. There we go. Did that go better for you, Jake? It's half of the diameter, so it's 0.75. So the diameter of the hole going through is 1 inch in diameter, right, across. So because we're referencing from center to one edge, it would be 0.75. Did that work then? Okay, cool. All right. This is good. Okay, now we get to do it again. Top view. Okay. So let's see here. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. We're going to add some construction lines going straight up. So go back to our construction line layer, draw X lines. I'm going to make sure I'm getting this intersection right here, not midpoint. I want to go intersection, shift, right mouse button, intersection right here. There we go. Be careful with those, because especially when you have multiple things. I added midpoint, and again, now they start like midpoints grabbing and this, and the midpoint might not always be exactly, it might be close, and then that's when you start getting things off. So I've had some students say, well, I'm off by like little bits. It might be that, yep, you're using object snaps, but the wrong ones might be grabbing, unfortunately. So make sure that you're very intentional about which ones you're using. I'm going to put my ortho back on, go straight up with this. So that's the center line of my ellipse. Then I'm going to do the two edges here. So I'm going to go back to that intersection going straight up, and then intersection or endpoint going straight up is fine too. Okay. You know what I'll do? I did this the other. Yeah, that's probably a little bit easier to see, isn't it? At least if you're in the room. Yeah, so do you understand why I'm doing 10 after 11? Sections are just easier, even for me. Okay, so now we want to put our ellipse in here, right? So we are going to use the midpoint of the outside here and drag it over it. Now, if you don't have that option, this is what you can do, okay? In case you're like, it's not grabbing my midpoints and it's not tracking over correctly, then do this, and I'll do it with you. I'm going to do a trim. I'm going to get rid of that construction line here, here, and here, because I want it in the middle here, right? I'm going to get rid of the construction line here, here, and here. That way now the lines that you're dealing with are right there for you, okay? So now we're going to go back to our object line, and these lines are exactly the length that I need them to be. So the midpoint of those construction lines are going to be my centers, okay? So I'm going to do the ellipse again. I'm going to grab the midpoint. If you don't have midpoint activated on your object snaps, you're running object snaps here, then you just do the shift right mouse button or the toolbar. So I'm gonna do my midpoint. Sorry, I think I got out of the command. Midpoint, mine's activated, and I'm gonna go over for my width, okay, to one of those. And it is gonna be the midpoint, or it can be perpendicular to get that width, and you can go on left or right. It does not matter at all. So I'm gonna get over there, and now that's one direction, and then I need to do my 1.5 divided by 2 is 0.75. Here's the other direction. Okay. How fun is this? Love it. So good. All right. So now the other part of this ellipse that we're going to see coming through is going to be this edge right here is going to get our ellipse, but it's not going to be a full ellipse because it ends over here. So if we look back at our drawing, this is what we end up getting. We get the ellipse here, but then it continues through the part. We don't see the other side up in that top view. Does that make sense? Because it like bottoms out. It bottoms out down here. So it just goes all the way through that edge. There's not an ellipse to be had because it's actually on that back surface. We would see it go like this. And that's what we drew over here. Okay. But we don't see that in the top view. So we're going to add a half of an ellipse here, and then it's just going to go out that back side and continue on. So go back to AutoCAD here. Now, where this top of that ellipse is going to start is where it's coming through on that bottom edge there. So I'm going to go back to my construction lines, grab a construction line going vertical from this endpoint right here, up, up. Okay. Now, unless you love the ellipse command, we can do a copy. It's the same size ellipse that we have in the top view here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy what I already created, this one. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to go from its quadrant. So make sure you grab this right here, go from its quadrant, and I'm going to go perpendicular to that line that I just created. Okay. Then I'm going to select it and put it on the hidden lines. There we go. You could completely create that in the very same way that we did before using the hidden lines, or copy it and then put it on the hidden line layer like we just did here. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our hidden lines, and we're going to go to the quadrant up here and go all the way through, perpendicular to that back face where it ends. Same thing on the other side, quadrant, all the way through. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trim away this part. Now, there's this vertical line here. It trimmed to that vertical line. Make sure that you trim away that little edge right there. Okay. Right there. Okay. All right. Top view. File. Save. Now, in this part, I am going to have you draw the rest of the view here. So meaning, here we have our auxiliary view, right? We want to add the sides, okay? I want you to do this on this view because this one's not as bad, if you would, okay? The other ones I let you cut off, the two that you have additionally in this assignment, you get to cut those off. But this one, I do want you to look at it, or I want you to add the whole view. So, because it's a little, it's good to do it because it's good visualization practice, and it's not too complicated. So this is going to be the rest that we do. So right now we have this rectangle with the hole covered. Okay. And you'll notice, remember in our PowerPoint presentation earlier, it said you don't have to add hidden lines to auxiliary views, right? But your instructor might ask you to, or if there's only one or two and it adds a little bit of clarity, I think it's a good idea to do it. Okay. So there really is only one hidden line here. So we're going to put it in. All right. And it's one of those that you can or you can't, you get to make that judgment call as the designer. So we're going to finish up these other sides here. Now, as you can imagine, we're going to be using construction lines to go up, 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 and up. All right. To get those edges. So that's what we're going to do first. Okay. And I'm actually going to get rid of a couple of my construction lines. I'm going to delete them, not hide them, because I don't want these here. Those vertical ones are just going to get in the way. So I'm simply going to delete these because as I'm drawing here now, they're just extra lines that I don't want to look at. I want to have everything going up. And I'm also going to get rid of my horizontal ones again, because I don't want to accidentally pick some intersections that I don't want. I only want to go up into that auxiliary view. So it's okay to delete construction lines, okay? You don't have to keep them there. If you're done with them, delete them. Or you can keep them and then you can turn them off, you know, later on, totally up to you. But I like less lines to look at. Okay. So what I am going to do is I'm going to move my right side away and my top side up. So I'm going to make sure that my ortho is on so they don't go out of projection. And I'm simply going to do the move command. I'm going to grab my entire right side view. And again, I'd like to click out here and just move it away. Okay, so it's definitely away. Same thing with my top view. I'll move it again a little bit further than what I had. Let me go up with it. Okay, so now I have all my space here for my auxiliary view, and I'm actually going to bring it a little bit closer. Do I want to do that? I am, but I have to go along my 45-degree angle. I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to go to near. Oh no, wait. Emily, you got me thinking about that polar tracking. I'm gonna put polar tracking on. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna grab this. This should help me, right? Oh, and it does. And we're just gonna go right along here, just so we're a little closer. And we're good. So these are the two views that I want to focus on. This is it. This is it. So now we're gonna go to our construction line layer, and we're gonna project all of these edges up into that view. Okay. I'm gonna go my line here. This is at a 45-degree angle, so we're gonna go 45-degree angle up. There we go. We've got our hole covered. We've got that edge covered. I'm gonna go on the outside here and pan around if you need to. Got that edge. I need this edge, 45 degrees. I need this edge here. Degrees. And then I need this back edge here. That's going to be that hidden line. If you want to put that in now, you can, or if you just want to like just do the outside, I think I'm going to reserve it for, I'll worry about that a little bit later. Oh, now I'll put it in. I've got construction line layer. Sometimes it's annoying to go back, right? Not that one. And then I do need this one as well, because this is a little edge that we have to worry about. Now, notice that I need to get the edge of my visible line, not the hidden line. So make sure you zoom in here and we get that construction line at a 45-degree angle off of that correct surface. Oops, I see a question. It's the best. It really is, Emily. Thank you. Thank you. And it's not that, I mean, I know it was always there, but sometimes you just kind of lean on the things that you're normally used to, right? So, yeah, it is good. It is the best. Okay, so we're here. I think it's a good idea. I don't know. I feel like I want to save this. I don't know if I really did much since my last save, but it's always a good idea to save often, right? We know that. All right, so let's go back to how we're drawing. And this little corner right here, we know that that is going to be 3 inches wide, right? And it's going to be a 1/2 inch on either side. So if we go back to AutoCAD here, we know that this edge is going to start out here, right? And then the offset is going to be a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to create another construction line that is going to go through this point and that point. Oops, perpendicular to, I don't trust you. Yep, intersection there. Okay, and then I'm gonna do another construction line going this way, because then I'm going to offset the construction lines rather than the visible lines, because the visible lines are like higher than I need them to be, and I can then just do perimeter. So construction line here from that endpoint to that intersection. There we go. Okay, so now like I said, I can offset those construction lines. So I want to do an offset 1/2 inch in either direction on those construction lines. So offset 0.5, and I'm doing 0.5 because that's the distance of each one of the shelves on either side, right? You see that? Okay. Now let's back here. And as we're looking down, so I did this 1/2 inch and that 1/2 inch on the outside. That's what those were. Okay. Now let's take a peek over here. You'll notice that we're going to go up, and then this is going to be the in alignment with this corner right there. Okay, do you see that? That corner right there. So it's not going to be straight across in the front. It's going to be offset a little bit, and it's going to be based on this corner. That edge is that edge right there. So we are going to get to our object line. Okay, line. So I'm going to start down in this corner and I'm going to go up. And this is going to be that first edge. Kind of see this like this. And then we're going to go straight up here. Okay. And hit escape. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start back here. I'm going to go up to this intersection. Go up, in, and back. Okay. So that's that front edge. Does that make sense to everybody how that looks? Again, you're changing your perspective. We're looking straight down. So we'll see this face, but it's going to be shortened. It's going to be shortened, and it's not an edge across here because of the front being flush. You know, because that's flush. There's not an edge there. It's a flush. Okay.
Did you get those construction offsets?
Oh, yeah, let's look. These guys here.
Mhm.
So what I did was I created a construction line through this point and that point on your rectangle. And then I did an offset just of the construction line. Does that make sense? 0.5. 0.5, because that's the width of those little flares, right? So this still is going to be 3 inches wide in this view. Okay, this is that depth dimension, if you would. Okay. So this is 3 inches in the right side view. This is still 3 inches right here. All right, so let's see what else we want to do. So we've got that front part done. Now we've got these little ears here, okay? Got those little ears. Now those little ears don't go all the way back because this part of the foot is this point right there, okay? That part of the foot is that point right there. So let's go back. We are going to extend this going up until that point right there. Okay, the one that we projected right there. So I'm going to draw it for you first and we'll kind of see where it's at. So we're going to go up here and then it's going to be to here and right there. Okay, it's that one. This point right here, if we look through, this is that very back edge. That edge is going through the whole part at the bottom. That's that hidden line. Okay, so it's not to that point, it's this one. It's the end of the ear. Because when we look at the top here, we want the top of the ear there, and that is going to be that point right there. Okay, so that's why it's perpendicular. So the same thing on the other side. Line, line, line. There we go. It's like coming together. Now we need to add this little width right here. Now this is that, let's see. This is this right here. It's that part right there. So when we go back to AutoCAD, it's just going to be this little rectangle right in the middle here. So it's going to be endpoint, intersection, intersection, intersection. That's it. Okay. Those are all the visible lines. And we just have one hidden line to go through. And that's going to be this one, which starts right here. So it's going to go from here. Oops, I'm back on my object line. Sorry. Yeah, I thought I changed it to hidden. There we go. Line from here to here. And that's that very back edge there going, you know, the whole thing, but we'd end up not seeing it. Oh, and then we have to, I did something wrong. We have to trim that away because the hole is going all the way through. We look down the hole. I've got to correct my guide. Sorry about that. Because now it cuts that away when we're inside of there, right? Because we're looking straight down the hole and it's going through that edge. So that needs to be trimmed away. I'll do that on my, I'll make sure that I do that on my guide. All right. Now let's turn off our construction lines. Okay. Now it like looks good, doesn't it? Isn't it? I'm gonna move this view back away a little bit, and I'm gonna put it along here, along my 45 degrees, kind of move it out of the way. Okay, and then I'm gonna bring my side view and my front view back in closer. And again, they can overlap, and then really you're going to position these remaining in orthographic projection, but you're going to maybe put them closer, further apart, depending on the room that you need for dimensioning. Okay. So right now we're just, kind of creating them, and then we'll bring them back together so that you can see them. Okay. Now there are some center lines to put in here. I'm going to peek at our guide. So I'll get rid of that hidden line right there. That's not supposed to be there between the circle. But I want you to add in a center line just going horizontally here through. We don't need to add a crosshairs going up on an ellipse. Okay, we're just going to show the line as it's going through. Same thing with the right side view, just a line going straight down. Okay. So if we go to our center, I'm going to grab a line, and I'm gonna align with the center here. We're going to go straight up, a little bit past, and a little bit past. Okay, down the part, and then the same thing in our top view. So align with that center first, a little bit past, and a little bit past. Okay, and I think that's everything. So I'm going to do a save, official save, right? Okay. And then I'll get that, I'll do a PDF of this, and I'll get mine updated as a guide. Okay. So any questions? Let's look at your homework. So if we go back to our assignment for chapter 10, there's just 2 more to do. Okay. We've got the indexing guide, and we've got the support hanger. Okay, let's look at them first in AutoCAD, and then I'll pull up the drawing guide so that you know what you're responsible for. So, oopsie, let's go here. So indexing guide is on that same page just below. All right. Front view is going to be in this orientation, top view, and we're going to do a right side view. Okay. Yes.
For this one, do we have to do the full?
I'll explain in just a little bit. Okay. So you'll notice here that we're going to do front, top, and right side view. So you're still going to do your 3 traditional views. And yes, this is at an angle. So you're going to have some ellipses that you're going to have to put in those primary views. So you have to do those. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add then a view looking in from that other side. Or do you do a right side? Let me look at my guide. I forget. I don't think I have you do a right side. I don't think. Trying to think. Trying to remember. No. Might backtrack. Trying to see it. Let me go back for a second. Chapter 10. Indexing guide. There we go. Okay. Oh, I don't. I'm so nice. And really, when we look at this, the top view and the front view give us enough information dimensionally wise that we won't have to worry about it. Okay. And so what you're going to do then is you are just going to add an auxiliary view looking up in this direction. Okay. Up in that direction. The other one that we have, okay, is going to be the support hanger. That is on page 37. And here too, I've got a drawing guide for this one, support hanger. And this one, you zoom out, again, a front and a top view with an auxiliary view coming in here. Notice that in both cases, I let you cut off the rest of the auxiliary view just because we get the information from the other views. Okay. And that is very common to do. A lot of times the auxiliary view is created and it's like, we just want to focus on that one area. Now, as I told you earlier, when we do parametric design, the software creates everything for you. So you have the choice if you want to include the rest of the view or if you just want to have it in there because it's there. Sometimes because of space considerations, you may want to cut it off anyway. But because I know what's coming and I know what you're going to be primarily using, we're going to focus just on making sure that we understand auxiliary views, being able to simply create them, but then you know, knowing and understanding that as we go forward, we'll have some other tools that are going to automate that for us. Okay. Any questions? Now, let's, I'm going to stop recording for the moment. Well, I'll keep recording because this pertains to the next time that we have class. So, so as we look at our calendar, you're going to notice, I got to make sure that this class is activated. I'm going to turn this one off and I'm going to go down to tech drafting. I think it's this one. Yeah. You're going to notice here this Friday, if we click on this, our time is going to be from 8 to 9:45. I have a meeting the rest of the day that I have to attend starting at 10 o'clock. Okay. So my cutoff is 9:45, unfortunately. But the good thing is that during these first 2 sessions this week, I got through all of the information that I wanted to. All right. Now, on Friday, it's going to be a work day and you're going to answer, I'm going to answer any questions or doing demos that you want. Now, this is the deal, and I want this to be clear for everybody because I'm not doing any exceptions anymore. This is week 4. We should know, you know, how this is working, and I'm declaring this is the deal. So if you don't want to be here on Friday, you got to work ahead. You have to have all of your assignments in, not only for learning plan or for module 4, but everything leading up to there as well in order to get a pass on Friday. Does everybody understand that? Because I see that people are clicking and not looking and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm not, if somebody doesn't let me know they're not going to be here, if somebody doesn't show up and they have any missing assignments, it's an unexcused absence, minus 3% from your overall grade at the end of the semester. Okay. It's like firm. So I don't know what the weather looks like on Friday. Might be nice. It's always kind of nice to have a Friday off if you would, but you have to do the work ahead of time. All right. So I'm not going to be explaining or introducing any new material on Friday, but I will be here from 8 to 9:45 for any questions, any demos, anything that you need done. If you need to work with me, anything, but I do have to leave at 9:45. Okay. And again, if you want the pass that you don't have to do it, then you have to have all of your assignments in, not just module 4. You have to have module 1, module 2, module 3, every part of every module, not like one assignment from a module. Okay. Some of them have multiples. So look at your grades, make sure that you're all set. Otherwise, I will see you here on Friday. Okay. So the rest of the time is yours to work. Okay.